Hi, I'm Stefanie Mosca with TMC. We're here at CommTel in Las Vegas, and I'm here with Surendra Saboo, President and CEO of Neutral Tandem. How are you today?
I'm very good.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Would you mind starting telling us a little bit about the company?
Neutral Tandem is a company that interconnects carriers together for both voice and data services. With our acquisition of TNet late last year, we have now transformed into from being a voice company that was domestic focused to be a voice and data company that is global in nature.
Great.
So we basically provide voice services now globally, as well as data services for both IP transit, which is connecting eyeballs to internet, to the content providers that TNet was in the business of, as well as for Ethernet services across our network.
Great. Now I know you guys had your earnings call last week and you had some pretty big announcements, if you wouldn't mind elaborating on that.
Sure. We are basically growing in all three services that we provide. As I mentioned in our voice business, we introduced two new services that are domestic focused. One of them is called Access Homing Tandem. The Access Homing Tandem really means that a CLEC carrier or even a wireless carrier can actually name us as their Access Homing Tandem instead of the incumbent, which is usually who they use as their Access Homing Tandem, which really means they're the tandem of last resort to terminate calls into them. So traditionally, the ILEC or the incumbent has been named as the Access Homing Tandem in the local exchange routing guide, which is the industry database.
Right.
Now we have been now chosen by many CLECs and wireless companies to be the Access Homing Tandem for them. What that means is that now a lot of the calls from the public switch network that is terminating into the CLEC or the wireless company will flow through our tandem switches instead of the incumbent's tandem switches, which basically adds more voice traffic onto our network. The second product was Pstn Gateway, which is basically a public switch network gateway to the public switch network. So for example, for broadband companies that don't have their own infrastructure in all the markets that they want to serve, they can use us because we are pretty much deployed all throughout the US and have connectivity to both the incumbent carriers as well as all the CLECs and wireless carriers. So we have a very deep footprint with connectivity into the public switch network. So what we provide is a Pstn Gateway service for people who don't want to put their infrastructure in the capital yet want to actually serve a market. So we actually provide our infrastructure for them to leverage for both all the calls going out to the Pstn and coming in from the Pstn.
Right.
So that's our Pstn Gateway product, which allows to add more minutes to our network as well. So those two products are continuing to grow our voice business domestically. We have a third product which also introduced recently called Common Point, which is basically a product that allows international carriers to use Common Point, our service, to be able to terminate traffic into the US and with very high quality at competitive prices. And we guarantee the caller ID delivery for international carriers, which is still a big problem today.
Great.
And so those are our voice services. We are expanding globally in our voice business as well. We are deploying soft switches in London and in Singapore to be able to be closer to our customers, voice customers, international voice customers, and be able to pick up the traffic in London and Singapore and be able to bring it into the US
That's
on
excellent.
our own private backbone,
Great.
which we have. On IP transit, which is the bread and butter, so to say, of our TNet subsidiary, we are growing there as well. The market, as you know, is growing by leaps and bounds in terms of the internet traffic because of all the video downloads as well as peer-to-peer traffic. And so that market grows at about 60 to 80% on a per year basis. So there's high growth there, even though it's very competitive, the amount of traffic growth is very, very high. on a year-to-year basis, and that's what sort of keeps our growth going in that area. The last but probably the most exciting is our Ethernet services business. We have a global footprint now with the TNet acquisition. We have 120 POPs all across the globe, and we have a end-to-end sort of one-stop shop offer for our customers that want to buy Ethernet services from us to fulfill their off-net needs. So if a carrier in the US would like to reach a building in London, they can basically connect to us in New York, and we will take them right down to the building in London over our network and our supplier network in London, and provide them an end-to-end solution and stand behind the SLAs end-to-end. So rather than having to deal with multiple providers, what we do is be able to give a one-stop solution to our customers for all their off-net needs that we can reach through our global network. So that's a field that is, I believe, going to grow because of the growth in the whole Ethernet business, or Ethernet driven by the enterprise needs.
Well, it seems like you guys have been really busy.
Yeah. So this year is going to be exciting.
Definitely. In terms of trends, I mean, I know we've been seeing a lot of big things happening with Ethernet services and IP communications in general. What do you see happening as the big trends for 2011?
I think when you talk about voice, clearly the big trends are people are moving clearly into an IP interface. They're what they call SIP connections instead of TDM connections. And today, for example, we carry of all our traffic, which is about 11 billion minutes a month, we carry 25 or more % of that traffic is actually received on a SIP trunk on an IP basis. So that just only about 3 years ago, that was in the single digits, and now it's more than a %, of our 25% of our traffic.
Right.
So that's a big trend. I think people are moving towards IP. Nobody's putting any TDM infrastructure anymore. The other big trend is clearly in the Ethernet space. Last year, I believe, there was a lot of announcement on Ethernet exchanges. And there was still a little bit of skepticism, I believe, in terms of joining these exchanges by the carriers. They weren't quite sure what value they were providing. And I think if you look at 2011 and beyond, I think people have finally understood the value of the exchanges, and particularly when we provide a global exchange and are now much more in the tune of connecting and actually doing business over the exchanges.
Great.
So you'd see, I believe, for this year, you'll see a lot more real revenue generation through exchanges.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Surendra.
Thank you, Stefanie.
Once again, this is Stefanie Mosca. I'm here with Surendra Saboo, President and COO of Neutral Tandem.
Thank you.
Thank you.